Now, in order to do this, you need four things. First off, you need some sort of camera on the drone. So that would be this thing right here. Inside the drone, you would also have a video transmitter. And then that video transmitter will send a signal to a pair of goggles like these right here. Okay, and they will say a signal to a pair of goggles. And those goggles will have an antenna of some sort, either a directional antenna or a omni antenna, to be able to receive that signal. Now, something I'm going to point out real quick, just as a bit of word of caution: anytime you're having a headset, you cannot, I repeat, you cannot take this screen and point it towards the sun. If you do that, you will fry the screen, and you just lost yourself and wasted anywhere from $100 to $250 pair of goggles out the door. So never, ever, ever take the screen of your goggles and point it directly towards the sun. That is how you fry them. Now, speaking of antennas, the two differences. Now, this is what we call a directional antenna, sometimes referred to as a patch antenna. It has a given angle, and the reason behind that is if you were to fly farther away, it would give you a better signal and you wouldn't lose sight of your drone. Or if you go behind, if there's a lot of trees or brushes in the way, you're able to see it. Or if you go into a building and you have someone, for example, as a visual observer on the inside that's keeping an eye on your drone to make sure you don't hit anybody, you can still go into that building. But what happens is the second this drone, let's just do, there we go. Second this drone goes past your antenna, you lose all visual signal. And then you can't see anymore. So you got to be very aware of that. Beyond that, you have a omni antenna. Now, this goes in 360 degrees. The signal is not as strong. It's not going to penetrate through obstacles as easily. But if you go behind the antenna, it still gives you signal. In fact, the only way you're going to lose signal is if you're like directly on top. And that's why you see some FPV pilots, when they're flying sometimes, that they'll have two omni antennas, and they'll have one going side to side, and they'll have one going up and down. And that way, no matter where your drone is, right, you're not going to lose signal. More often than not, you'll actually see the usual standard for some pilots, depending on the situation. You might see a person with a patch and then an omni as well. Now, mind you, you need a special piece of equipment to do that. Not all cameras come with not all headsets come with two antennas. So be aware, you do have to sometimes buy extra equipment depending on the antenna, but that is usually the good idea or the way to go depending on the situation. Now, if you're flying just indoor around a track, you only need the omni and you're pretty good.